Hi everyone, and welcome to Fiber and Floral, a mostly knitting podcast. Fall has hit here in Berlin, and it's been like a whole week of pulling out sweaters that I haven't been able to wear in like 4 or 5 months, and it has been absolutely joyous. The weather is just everything you want fall to be, which doesn't happen that often here, but it's absolutely stunning. So today I am wearing my recently finished floral scarf, my Jenny jacket, and a True Bias blouse, which name I'm forgetting right now, all handmade by me. Socktober is just around the corner and I am so excited. I've already started my project so I could show you guys today. And last year I did a video that was 20 of my favorite of all time sock patterns. I did some basics, I did lace, I did color work. I'm gonna link that video here because I did 5 free beginner sock patterns, and that would be great if you've never knit a sock before. Go start there. I can highly recommend them. But today I'm going to be doing something similar. 20 sock patterns that have been released since last Socktober. Some of them are going to be free. Some of them are going to be beginner friendly. You got lace, color work, cables, just all around texture. And there's some beautiful socks that have come out this year. I'm really excited to share them with you. But first, I want to take a minute and just talk about the history behind Socktober, because Socktober, as many believe, is not some knitting thing. It actually started, by a man called Brad Monteau in Arizona, and he realized that one of the least donated items to homeless shelters is socks. And so he had a community project to donate socks to his local homeless shelter in Arizona, and Socktober has kind of came out of that and slowly made its way into the fiber community. So in October you'll see socks released that give a percentage to the local homeless shelter or that have a philanthropic idea behind them. And so just a reminder that this is really fun. We love to knit socks. I adore sock knitting, but we don't want to take away from the good message behind it. And so I hope you'll join me if you're taking part in Socktober, or even if you're not. I hope you would join me in donating socks to your local homeless shelter this month, or giving a donation. I always do a thing where however many socks I finish, I donate that amount of packs to my local shelter. My husband actually works at a women's center, so I usually donate them there. So I'm hoping to finish 4 socks, maybe 5, if I'm going to start my baby girl's socks as well for Christmas. Maybe 5 socks this October. So we'll see if. So yeah, I hope you'll join me in remembering the homeless in our community, especially as the weather is getting cool. We enjoy that, but for them it's a really dangerous time of year. So that is my spiel about the history of Socktober, and I hope that you'll join me in giving back to our local areas. But Socktober is a really special time. I knit my first pair of socks ever during Socktober 2022, and I knit my first pair of all over Colorwork socks during Socktober of last year. This one right here that I wear a lot. So whether this is your first time knitting socks or your 100th time knitting socks, I hope you find a pair of socks that you love in this video and are inspired to knit something up this October. Very similar to what I did last year, I'm going to break these up into different sections. I have a beginner friendly section, maybe not for your first sock ever, but if you've done a vanilla sock, I will do beginner patterns. Then I'm going to go into lace and color work and all that, and I'll announce the different sections ahead of time. But if you only like knitting lace socks, feel free to jump ahead. Or if you only like knitting color work socks, feel free to jump ahead to those sections. I'll try and make sure that they're down below so you can see them. The first sock pattern I want to bring up is the penny sock designed by Deb Buckingham. And this is a free pattern that is available through the Hobby website. These are made on 2.25 millimeter needles, and this is a really simple lace pattern for beginners. Like I said, maybe not your first sock ever, although I'm a firm believer in you can just go for things. If you're willing to be patient and learn, you can do anything. So That means that if you fall in love with these, go for it. This is a really simple lace pattern that's easily memorizable, and they're shorty socks, so they'll also go faster. And I do think that starting with 2.25 millimeter socks is the way to go. This is kind of your typical sock needle size. And I know there are people who say to start with DK, but I really think learning tension and gauge is important for beginner sock knitters. And I love, as someone who is incredibly warm all the time, I really love knitting fingering weight socks. So give that one a go if you want to try something a little less vanilla. The next beginner friendly sock pattern is the Oak Seed, designed by Agata Makiewicz. Another one that's free from hobby, and oh my goodness, this is darling. I feel like this is definitely more of an advanced beginner. It has a lot of details that I think could be a good challenge and a good learning opportunity for beginners, but I think it's manageable. Most of the lace and the details are up at the cuff, and you just have some small texture on the foot, and you could even omit the texture and just do a plain vanilla sock if you want to ease into it, really. But I think this little picot edge at the top of the sock and then this little acorn motif are beautiful. I just think this is such a sweet little lace pattern. The next one I'm going to mention are the Hearth Socks, designed by Tanya Barley. And this is one that I think would be a great, if you've done a lot of socks but have never done Colorwork socks, I think this could be a really interesting challenge for learning to do color work in socks. This is actually a DK weight sock. You knit it on 3 millimeter needles, so it's a fingering weight held with mohair. And if you've never knit mohair socks, oh, stunning. I knit a pair of mohair socks over Christmas last year, and besides it being incredibly fast, it is so lovely. If you are in a climate where it gets really cold or snows, this is what you want to be wearing. It is beautiful. We had a lot of snow last year, and anytime we were out sledding, I was wearing these. This is my mohair sock. You can tell it is like worn to shreds. This was my favorite sock when it gets like those negative temperatures. You need a mohair sock. This is available for €6.50. And I think this would be a great pattern for someone who's learning all over color work, because it's only 1x1 color work. You don't have to worry about learning a pattern, memorizing a pattern. You don't have to worry about like floats in your socks. I think this would just be really lovely. And that color work, because you're basically holding 2 different yarns, is going to make your socks extra warm. So these are going to be great for someone in the Northern Hemisphere. Actually, I might knit these. I always knit a pair of mohair socks every Christmas holiday. So this might be my ones this year. I think these are beautiful, and I love the color she chose with that like burnt orange and cream. I just think it looks so cool. I would definitely be interested in knitting these. Another beginner friendly pattern is the Sweet Briar Socks by Christy Archer. I got to know Christy through this podcast, and she's an amazing sock designer. Please go check her out. Her work is brilliant, and I actually have another one of her. She's like the queen of lace, and I have another one of her lace sock designs later on in the podcast. But this one, once again, very easy to memorize. Very simple lace, but I think what really got me was these little baubles at the top of the sock. They're so cute. I think these would look super cute tucked into boots or just like popping out of tennis shoes in the fall. They're absolutely beautiful. And because it's just that one row of baubles, yes, I find baubles a little tedious to knit. I'm currently knitting an all over bauble sweater for my daughter, and it is a lot of work when you get to the bauble rows, but because it's just one row in each sock, you could get through that in a few minutes, and I think it's such a cute, stunning result. Amazing work, Christine. So those are all the beginner friendly sock patterns that I have. Like I said, maybe not your first sock, but as you grow, if you've done a vanilla sock, I think these would be excellent socks for you to attempt this Socktober. Okay, so we are moving into the lace sock category, and I'm kind of on a lace kick right now. The socks that I have on my needles are Colorwork, but the last couple of months I've been on a lace kick, and there are some beautiful ones that have come out this year. The first one being the Trifolium socks, designed by Very Busy Monkey. I couldn't find the designer's name, so it's just that his like internet name or her internet name, I'm not sure. These are 2.5 millimeter needles and available for $6.50. First off, I have to say I love the color that they used for these socks. I know this is like really trendy right now, but I've always loved this color and I think it's absolutely stunning. But what drew me was really like the geometric patterns in the lace. I find lace to be a lot more like lacy designs to be a softer, more feminine. And I do think that these are like they're intricate and stunning and they almost resemble a leaf pattern, but there's just something that's a little more edgy about them. Like, I mean, like they actually have edges and points, and there's something like it's geometric and edgy instead of like soft and feminine, and I think that's a really interesting combination with lace. These are absolutely stunning, beautiful, great work. And going in the complete opposite direction, and probably my next sock cast on after I finish my Socktober socks, are the Pontel socks by Marie Eve of In Her Skein, and this is one of my recent designers that I've been obsessed with. I'm actually test knitting a vest for her right now, or I'll start casting on today when she sends out the pattern, and I fell in love with these socks. Pontel is really having a moment. I just finished a Pontel scarf and I love these socks. They are on 2.25 millimeter needles, no, 2.5 millimeter needles, and available for €5.50. But this lace work is just stunning. It's just the right amount. It's not too much. It's just like little hints of pattern, and I think that's what's so special about Pontel. It really does a lot with just a little bit of detail, and then when you combine it with that picot edge, oh, it's just so lovely and light and soft. Beautiful work, Marie. I've been wanting to cast these on. I've had even the sock yarn bought for like 4 months and I just haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm hoping to cast these on in November. They're beautiful. Speaking of test knitting, my next sock pattern is one that I actually had the pleasure of test knitting. Although I tried to find the socks, I have a sock like at a allotted hand knit sock drawer, and they're not in there. And they're socks that I wear a lot, especially like over tights in the winter. So I need to find those before like the cold really gets down here. But they are the Vesna socks by Olya Kilik, and they are on 2.25 millimeter needles and available for €4. And what's really nice about Olga is most of her patterns go from kid to adult. So there are a wide size range, not just even with adult, but even like she does kid sizes in her patterns as well. This is a beautiful all over lace pattern. Vesna, in I believe it's Ukrainian, actually means spring. And so I knit these like bringing into spring and watching the little buds finally come up. And it was just a really joyful experience. So I find this lace motif just be beautiful. And even though it's named after spring, I think this would be a lovely sock to wear year round. If you did it in like a cool blue or a creamy white, I think this would be really like special for winter, or maybe an orange for autumnal socks. But either whatever color you choose to knit these in, it's absolutely stunning. And what's really nice about Olya's sock patterns is that it doesn't have your standard heel. She does a lot of all over color work socks as well, and her heels are really interesting constructions. This one, I forget the name of it, but I remember testing it and being like, oh, I need to keep this in mind for other socks. It's basically if a reinforced heel and a colorwork short row heel had a baby, like it's half of a heel flap and half of a short row sock. It's very interesting. I have never seen anything like that, and it's so unique. Definitely worth a try for her patterns for the heels alone. The next one I have is the Morning Frost sock by Christy Archer, who I mentioned previously. Once again, the queen of lace knitting. Like, look at these socks. And I think these are just so, I love the color she chose, that like icy blue. It really does make me think of like a little snow day. These are knit on 2.5mm needles and are available for €5. This lace pattern looks really easy to memorize. It's very small, and so I think this would go quickly to be able to memorize this and just go. Even though it has this like really stunning appeal, I think this would be a really easy sock to knit that you could even sit down and watch television as you're going. So like I said, give Christy, I could have put honestly 20 of Christy's sock patterns on here. They're all stunning. She is on a roll with lace socks right now. Definitely go and check her out. Incredible work by her. So those are all the lace patterns I have for you. Now we are going to move on into the colorwork section. But don't worry, even if you don't like colorwork, there's still a texture section coming afterwards, so stick around. But my first colorwork pattern is the 70s sock by Tina Rain. This is knit on 2.5mm needles and is available for €5. The 70s definitely had a moment. I forget when in the last year, but I feel like these socks are just incredibly like that definite cool 70s vibe. Even the color she chose are very reminiscent of that era. And I just think this is such a cool design that's so unique. It would be so fun to knit. She has instructions for how to do just around the cuff or all over colorwork where the design goes all the way down the sock. So yeah, if you're into the 70s vibes, the sock is definitely for you. And of course, no Socktober would be complete without a pumpkin sock. Ugh. The Pumpkin Patch Socks by Sarah Louise Jackson. Let me present to you. I have been on the lookout for the perfect pumpkin sock. And I remember last year, I was like, it's Socktober. We have to have a pumpkin sock, and not finding a single one that I really liked and thought wouldn't look like an apple or a peach or whatever, an orange instead of a pumpkin. But let me present to you the perfect pumpkin knitting chart. Beautiful, from the vine to like the different sections of the pumpkin. I just love how she designed these. Brilliant work. Sarah Louise, you have filled a gap in the sock knitting community, which is saying a lot, honestly. I have really strong feelings about this sock, as you can tell. I really want to knit these soon. I don't know if I'm going to have time this year, but I want to so bad. You knit them on 2.25mm needles, and they're available for €4. I think these would look also really stunning in like a dark plum with like the green and the orange. That would be really lovely. They're beautiful in the cream, but I think like a really nice like teal or dark plum would really make the pumpkins pop. It would be beautiful fall. The next one is the Blooming Lovely sock patterns by Little Loops. These are an all-over colorwork sock pattern knit on 2.5mm needles and available for €5. And what I really love are the flowers on here. I think, and the colors she chose are just really stunning. It gives really Scandinavian vibes that I really love and find really beautiful for socks. And even though there's lots of colors represented here, there's only 2 colors at a time. So if that feels overwhelming for you, I feel like it actually would be manageable just breaking it down in steps. You might have a lot of ends to weave in at the end, but it would be really doable. I think this would be an easy pattern. If you don't like all over colorwork socks like me, this would also just be really simple to do around the cuff, and it would be still really stunning. And of course, no fall sock compilation would be complete without gingham. So let me introduce you to the Woodland Checkered Socks by Pearl Bear Design. This is an all-over colorwork pattern on 2.5mm needles, and once again available for €5. What a stunning sock. These are so cool, and I feel like You could even do like a traditional gingham with like only 2 colors. That would be really fun. You could do multicolored like she did, and depending on what colors you chose, I feel like you could also make these really seasonal. Like I could imagine these, I love these in the fall colors, but also you could do a Christmas version or like a really fun pastel spring version. Even like a really funky like neon version for summer would be super cool. So lots of options for the sock, but I think it's a really classic design, and I love the fall colors that she chose. All right, these socks are some that I am so excited and would love to knit up. These are the Ocelicus socks by Zanetta Knits. And I was reading the description of these and I just had to laugh because she was like, basically in an interview, I bragged that I had found the perfect sock, all over Colorwork sock heel that you could use with any pattern. And then I realized that I had to make a sock to back that claim up. And I think this was a Knitting for Olive interview, not Knitting for Olive, Fruity Knitting video. And I remember watching that and being like, what is this heel? And looking for it and could not find it. So as I was going through this, I think this is probably the interview that I watched. And so she created this sock pattern basically to ride up this heel. And for those of you who hate short row heels, this is the answer. This is how we get all over Colorwork socks while still having heels that fit well. And so I want to knit this up alone, but I also love the quilty vibes. I'm really, really intrigued by this. This is definitely one that I'm planning to come back and knit, hopefully this spring if I can get to it, but we'll see how it goes. These are 2.25 millimeter socks available for €6. And I think we got to try this out, see if it really is the perfect solution for all over Colorwork sock heels. Am I the only one who's bothered by this? Surely not, right? That's why she brought this up. Like, this is a thing for most people, or am I just super picky about heels, which feels like a very niche thing to be picky about, but we're moving on. Our next one, another sock that I am hoping to knit this year is the Linaria socks by Marie Eve of In Her Skein. And I had never heard of Estonian colorwork, but she's kind of brought this technique back into focus. I've seen a couple other patterns come out, and I know that I kind of credit her for bringing this technique back into the focus of the knitting community. I don't know if that's true, but I know that she has a couple of designs based off Estonian colorwork, and I hadn't seen it until these socks. So basically Estonian colorwork, it's different than stranded colorwork in that you're not knitting the yarn, you're just like wrapping it around your knit stitches and creating a design. This is a technique that I've never done, but I do love colorwork a lot. And so I'm very interested to try this pattern. I do have this sock pattern, and I'm hoping it's gonna be my Christmas sock this year. So we'll see, but I really love trying different techniques and just seeing how they work. My brain really thrives. I don't do well knitting the same thing over and over, but I love just acquiring techniques. And so this is a technique that I would love to acquire this year, and I'm very intrigued to see how this works. This is knit on 2.25 millimeter sock needles and is available for €5.50. Stunning work by Marie Eve, and I love the color she chose. I mean, obviously I think this came out around the same time I knit these socks, and I really like this. Actually, I don't even think this one is in here, but it's another one that came out this year. You should try it. It is the seedling sock, and I also tested this, so that's a little bonus sock for you. But this colors I really like, this burgundy and this like pale pink together. Anyways, now we have a subcategory of color work and texture, which I love. If you're one of those people who's like, should I knit texture? Should I knit color work? You don't have to choose. These two sock patterns are for you. Starting off first with the Waffle Cone socks by Amy Baldwin. And oh my goodness, I have never wanted a sock more. That's not true. I want every single one of these I mentioned today, but I will have these, just like, yes. These are also knit on 2.25 millimeter needles and are available for $6. a very easy color work chart. Actually, this could easily belong in beginner, for beginner color work. Very simple, just a little scallop. And then you go down into like the waffle texture, which is brilliant. And what's really cool, what really got me, is that you can do, are you a 1 scoop person? Are you a 2 scoop person? Are you a 3 scoop person? Maybe you have different socks. Like you make like sister socks with different, like one has like, it'd be so cute to have like 1 scoop on one and then 2 scoops on the other. I'm like really into the idea of like matched cuff sizes right now. I've never actually done one, but I've seen Summer Lee Knits do it, and I really like the idea of having like even different lengths of socks. I think that would be so cool, like a vanilla and strawberry and then like a chocolate sock. Super cool. I will knit these. My whole family will get these next summer. These are like all I'm gonna knit. Brilliant design. I love the idea of like an ice cream sock. So cool. And then my next one is the Stomping Dinosaur sock. And this is a free pattern. It does say in the description that it's more of a colorwork chart than a pattern. So keep that in mind. I did add it to my library, but I haven't actually opened the file yet. But I have a daughter who is obsessed. Well, actually, both of my daughters were obsessed with dinosaurs when they were 2. Is that just like most people, honestly? Are most people just obsessed with dinosaurs? Because I also want dinosaur socks. But these are so cool. And I like that there's a big T-Rex and there's like little ones. And she actually recommends knitting them together. Once again, this like sister sock idea. And I like that it goes into them from like the motif, the dinosaur motif, into this like really cool cable design. I just think it looks really interesting and stunning together. And the color she chose, I love that burnt orange and cream together. Brilliant. So leading right into our cable sock section, the Sonia socks. The Sonia socks by Izzy Kate. These are knit on 2.5 millimeters and are available for €5.50. These are just the most beautiful socks I've ever seen. I'm kind of honestly a little bit scared to knit them because there's so many cables and so many details, but honestly it's so worth it. And like the way that the 2x2 knit 2x2 ribbing on the cuff kind of goes into the cable, I think that's brilliant. I love everything about these. This tiny feminine like almost lace-like cables, and then the tiniest little ruffle. It's adorable. She did a great work with these, and I really think these would be so cute on like little popping out of little booties in the fall. And yeah, these are just beautiful. I don't know if I'll ever get around to these. I tend to be more of a colorwork sock knitter, but these are absolutely stunning. Next we have the Amurakoi socks by Ronya Hakaleto. These are DK weight socks knit on 3.5 millimeter needles and available for €5. And I've kind of nicknamed these the cabin socks because the vibe of this picture is so good. Like you really can't just like picture being in a cabin in the fall, wearing these socks, reading a book. Maybe you have an audiobook on, you're knitting, you have your coffee, or you know, in a rocking chair on the porch. It's just like these socks are so, they elicit a feeling when you see them, and that is a feeling that I want to have. I love these. They're absolutely stunning, and because they're DK weight, I feel like these actually seem doable. Like I feel like baubles and cables are really intimidating to me on socks. Even in sweaters, they're kind of intimidating, but because they're DK, they're actually going to go quite fast. I really love these. I could see myself knitting these in the future. Just curl up and read a book and enjoy the fall. So someone please knit these. They're stunning. Yeah. And then the very last sock I have for you is the Backup Lace Socks by Takiko. And these are, just look at them, they're so cute. They are knit on 2.5 millimeter needles and are $5. And I realize now that I forgot to mention which ones are toe up and cuff down. I did make sure that there are at least a few toe up ones. I am a cuff down person. I've never knit a toe up sock. However, these are toe up, and I did mention this in my notes. These are like Jane Austen historical romance vibes all around. I wear Birkenstocks, and so like the back of the sock is always showing, and I kind of like to play with that idea a lot when I knit my socks. And I think these would be so cool. I really want to knit these. I really like the front is just like a sweet little texture, just a little bit of texture to keep you entertained, but then the back is really where your eye is drawn, and it's just such a neat, like, corset inspired cables. Brilliant. I don't know why I haven't seen more of this in socks. This is so cool. And if you really wanted, you could repeat that on the front going all the way down the foot. I think that would also be really stunning. So that is 20 sock patterns that have come out since last October, and I hope you found something that inspired you. There's been a lot of great socks out there. It was really hard to narrow it down to 20, and if you want to click on the link below to my Ravelry board that I made, you'll actually see probably, I think, around 10 more socks that I just like didn't have time for. But really quickly, I wanted to show you what I'll be knitting this Socktober, and I went ahead and did the cuff so I could show you. These are the Eggs for Easter by Stone Knits, and then I've also added the cuff from the Cuff Club by Summer Lee, which is it's her second year doing it. Last year she did colorwork cuffs. This year she's doing like any kind of texture or color work, and she gives you like a new chart every month. And so this was August chart for like cables in the ribbing, and I thought that's just a great addition, kind of that adds some interest to the ribbing in a fun little way, and the yellow kind of plays off the chickens, and I love these so much. They're adorable. Like, I live in one of the largest cities in the world. I live in Berlin, but I dream of farm life. I love living in the city, but there are some days where I can just dream about a farm and it makes me happy, and this makes me very happy. I am knitting it. All the colors are Fico Lana by Ravetta, which is just like a local sock yarn. And then I'm knitting the main color with this beautiful teal, just like a little bit variegated hand-dyed sock yarn from Malabrigo in the color Agua, which is a sock yarn that I picked up ages ago in Baltimore, Maryland. And I think it just pairs really well. It's just enough like variation in the color for me to keep it interesting, but it doesn't take away from the chickens. It's beautiful. And my plan is to knit matching socks for my husband and I. My husband has a birthday in early November, and last year I did manage to knit socks for his birthday, and I figured I would do that again this year, and so we're gonna have matching chicken socks. And then so you have the chickens up top, and then on the toe you have like an egg. I'll try to post a photo, like a fried egg, and we are big fried egg people. And so I actually had one for lunch today. It's my favorite food. It's a fried egg on toast, FYI. Fun fact about me. So I knew these are socks that we had to have, and I'm really excited to have matching socks. I think that's going to be adorable. So those are my Socktober plans. I would love to know what you're knitting on this Socktober. If it's one of these patterns, if there's a completely new pattern that I've missed, or just an old favorite, please let me know below. I think it's so interesting to gain inspiration from each other, and I would love to have this turn into a dialogue instead of just me sitting here talking. So thank you for watching. Like I say a lot, the gift of your attention is so meaningful, and I'm so grateful that you're here. So thank you so much, and happy knitting, fiber friends.